And away we go with a Thursday edition of the show. I am Jason, and this is the Cash In on SportsMap Radio, the SportsMap Radio app, all across the world on Twitch. You can watch us, twitch.tv, Jason Page 77. If you're more averse to listening and more wanting to just see what I look like. I look terrible. Since Monday, I've been saying I need to get a haircut. And I have not been able to get out to get a haircut. I'm looking ragged these days. About as ragged as one could look. We got a busy 3 hours ahead, as we do every night on this show. We have breaking news. That's coming up. You'll have to wait for it, though. Coming up in a couple of minutes. Kurt Heelan will join us tonight on the show, our weekly NBA spot with him. He'll join us coming up in about 33 minutes. Get some thoughts around the National Basketball Association. There is good news on Damar Hamlin. I am thrilled we're going to be able to provide it to start the show tonight because, it sort of lifts everybody's spirits. I was listening to Josh Allen talk about it today and Sean McDermott talking about it today. And you could just see how everybody's spirits are buoyed by any sort of good news. And you really get the sense that the timing of this news was really important for both the Bills and the Bengals in terms of moving on, in terms of having some sort of perspective on the games this weekend and being able to think about something that wasn't related to Damar Hamlin. I mean, if this thing had lingered, and he's recovering remarkably fast, it may not seem it when I tell you the update today, but he's recovering in a remarkable manner considering the injuries he suffered the other night. So we'll get into that coming up here in just a couple of minutes, along with the breaking news from the NFL related to the Damar Hamlin story. It's all next on the Cash In. I'm Jason Page. Let's get it started. SportsMap Radio. Oh, we got a step closer. Oh, yeah. "12 minutes past the hour." Yeah, I agree. I've seen Poison in concert. They're good. Fun time. The telephone number throughout the show if you want to call in. I'm told the phones are working. 1-800-224-2004, 800-224-2004 on Twitter always. At the back page, again on Twitter, at the back page. So lots of ways to get in touch with us here on the radio program. 2 NBA finals tonight, by the way. Memphis beat Orlando 123-115. Boston took care of business in Dallas 124-95, which means we'll actually be on in Dallas tonight. That's good news. I'm always happy with that. Ooh, got to silence my phone. I am a professional. Do not try this at home. What did Bol Bol do tonight? Bol Bol didn't play? Bol Bol hurt? I don't even see Bol Bol's name listed. It's terrible. I was just looking to see, like, I live and breathe off of Bol Bol highlights. So when I don't see any Bol Bol highlights, I get very concerned. John Morant, 32 tonight. Wake me up when you get to 40 or 50. Because other than that, nobody cares. Clippers in Denver is the back half of the NBA doubleheader on TNT. I'm going to try to get that on my TV screen. All right, there it is. So, all right, let's get to the big news of the day. First of all, so happy to hear. I mean, I was sitting at Starbucks this morning with the dog. The one thing about Palm Springs, California, is the most dog-friendly place. Other than San Francisco, it is the most dog-friendly place in America. So you can bring your dog everywhere. And I mean literally just about everywhere, even a lot of restaurants. And there's a lot of outdoor seating here, so you can bring your dog, sit outside, that sort of thing. But I always bring him into Starbucks. He's a celebrity there. Everybody knows him. Oh, Dookie's here. We got to get our treats. Anyway, I was sitting there today when the doctors treating Damar Hamlin came on, and you knew they weren't coming on unless they had something good to report. It was either going to be something really good to report or the worst case scenario. And thankfully, we feel like, I think as a sports media community, as a sports fan community, I think we all have to feel good about the update we got today, that he is recovering. It's going to be slow. It's not going to be overnight, but he made some remarkable progress over the last 24 to 36 hours. And he was even able to convey a message asking if the Bills had won the game on Monday night. He said, "Did we win the game?" And the doctors replied, "Yes, you won the game of life." I mean, which is just a great answer. But I mean, I was listening to the press conference today, and you had people in the media, and I recognize the names, so a lot of them were football media people. And of course, while all of them were thanking the doctors, they couldn't avoid asking the question. And what do you think that question is? John Belmer is engineering the program tonight in Houston. John, what do you think the question all of them kept asking was? I'll give you one guess. Yeah. See if you can come up with it. Come on. No, what were they asking the doctors? Think of the way the media in America operates. And then it'll probably come to you. Dynamite dropping, Monty. All right, I'll help you. Ready? So basically, what the media they could not avoid asking the question: is he going to be able to play football again? And as you're hearing it, you're just going, dude, you just want the guy to get off the friggin' ventilator. And you're asking, is he going to play football again? And what do you expect a doctor is going to say in that spot? Doctors are more reserved and more conservative in their approaches. What do you think they were going to say? Oh, hell yeah, man, strap him up. He'll be out there this Sunday. Like, come on. Really? That's the question you're asking. You get one question to the doctor. That's the question you're asking. Come on. But it was. And you had a bunch of people ask that question. The doctor said, look, best case scenario, the fact that they did say this is telling. They think the best case scenario is that Damar Hamlin is the Damar Hamlin he was at 8 p.m. Eastern on Monday night. I mean, that's remarkable when you think about what this kid has been through. that there's even a chance that Damar Hamlin could come out of this the way he went into it is remarkable, because everything that took place on Monday night would have said there would have had to be some permanent damage, deprivation of oxygen to the brain and all that. And they're saying neurologically he's intact. So I have to be honest, that was a huge load off of my mind as a sports radio host, even because while I'm not family and I'm not friends and I'm not teammates or anything like that, as a guy hosting a show every night, there's something that sort of weighs on your conscience. The idea of going on the air and just talking about your day-to-day sports stuff as if this kid isn't sitting there fighting for his life. And by the way, he's still in critical condition and intensive care. So, these things could always take a turn. You just never know. It is still an hour-by-hour, day-by-day sort of story. But it feels like, from everything you heard today, it feels like he's turned a corner of sorts, a first corner. And there's going to be many corners that he has to turn to sort of get back the life he once had. But really happy to hear that, and certainly our best wishes go out to him and his family. I think we're all just hoping for the best. Okay, the other news concerning that Damar Hamlin, not directly story, but certainly a part of it. Bills and Bengals will not resume, according to the NFL. And I don't think this is a shock if you were listening to any sports radio or watching sports television today. It seemed like the league had already come to the conclusion that the game was not going to be resumed. The question was, what are they going to do? So the NFL made the official announcement today. Roger Goodell saying, quote, "This has been a very difficult week," in a release. "We continue to focus on the recovery of Damar Hamlin, encouraged by the improvements in his condition." Talked about the great work of the first responders and everybody that was there at the stadium that really saved his life. As much as you could talk about what the doctors at UC Medical Center do, if not for the actions taken on the field by these first responders and team physicians and all of that, this kid wouldn't have made it. And if there's one thing that we can say in all of this that everybody can agree on, no matter what you think of the NFL, player safety, the game of football, Roger Goodell, any of that stuff, they got it right on the field. That is the most important thing, because it really was the difference between life and death for this kid. And, a lot of people have to be lauded for making sure this kid got off the field alive on Monday night, because we wouldn't be this story would have had a far different outcome if bad decisions were made. So Goodell made the decision not to resume the game in part because its outcome would not affect whether teams qualified or were eliminated from the playoffs, and because playing the game would require postponing the postseason. He spoke with both the Bills and Bengals, as well as the NFL Players Association, before he made the decision. Bengals were leading 7-3 at the time. NFL officials have maintained there were no plans for the game to continue Monday following Hamlin's collapse and transportation to the hospital. Again, I call BS. Joe Buck even said on the broadcast 5 separate times they were given a 5-minute warm-up window. That information came from John Perry, who had been in touch with the league. So, NFL, just stop lying. For once, just stop lying. Buffalo came into Week 17 tied with Kansas City for the best record in the AFC. But they held the tiebreaker. Cincinnati trailed both teams by 1 game, but would have had a 3-way tiebreaker with a win over Buffalo because the Bengals beat the Chiefs in Week 13. Wednesday, Bengals coach Zach Taylor said the team was preparing to face the Ravens as the league was trying to figure all this out. And everybody seems to be very understanding of the situation. If anybody's going to be slightly miffed in all of this, it's probably the Ravens. But even them at the end of the day are just going to have to understand, look, you're in the playoffs. And by the way, my answer to the Ravens, if they were upset, is don't blow 75 fourth quarter leads like you did this year. The reason you're not going to be the AFC North champions isn't because the Bengals-Chiefs game or the Bengals-Bills game got postponed and isn't being rescheduled. It's because you blew a zillion fourth quarter leads this year. You sucked in the fourth quarter. Let's just so stop. My sympathy quotient for Ravens fans in this is nil. Especially when at the end of the day, they are still in the postseason. Now, there are a number of scenarios on the table. And I want to get your guys' thoughts on this from anywhere in America. 1-800-224-2004, 800-224-2004. You can also tweet at the show at the back page. This is where it gets interesting. There are several scenarios being considered for the AFC playoffs. And this all has to be decided tomorrow because games begin play on Saturday for Week 18. And teams have to know what they're playing for. If they're playing for anything, because some of them might choose to sit some of their stars. Who knows? So a couple of scenarios being bandied about. One, the number one seed gets to pick either home field advantage or a first-round bye. Adam Schefter is reporting this, that either the number one seed gets to pick home field advantage or a bye in the first round of the postseason. And I think that's a really interesting question of how you would handle that sort of thing if you're a team. Number two seed would then get the leftover option. The other possibility, and this one is very interesting, a neutral site AFC championship game. Now, the only way they would do a neutral site AFC championship game is if the Bengals or Bills make it to the game. Meaning if the Chiefs get the number one seed, they'd host any team seeded fourth or worse, but they would play at a neutral site if they're playing the Bills or the Bengals. Look, it's a one-year thing. It is extraordinary circumstances. I know, deep down, if you give somebody truth serum, they're going to be upset if they have to play a neutral site AFC championship game as opposed to being able to play in Kansas City. Kansas City! I know. But I have to think that people are going to be smart enough to understand that the NFL has very limited options in how they do this and maintain the integrity of the entire 17-game season. So I don't fault the NFL. They've got to pick the best of a bunch of bad options or decent options at best. So that's where we are as of 7:25 p.m. Pacific on Thursday night. I am sure when we come on the air tomorrow night, we will have more clarity on this. We'll obviously cover it at that time. 1-800-224-2004 from anywhere in America, 800-224-2004. Hit me up on Twitter. I'm here at The Back Page. Again, on Twitter, at The Back Page. Stick around. We're coming back. More to do. Live betting talk. Oh, yes. Clippers and Nuggets, our live betting game of the night. We'll get to it next on the Cash In at SportsMap Radio. Rolling along on this Wednesday edition of the show. Another how anybody? Never mind. Coming up here in a few minutes. We'll get some thoughts with him about that. 1-800-224-2004 is the telephone number. 800-224-2004. You can hit me up on Twitter as well, at The Back Page. Again, on Twitter, at The Back Page. I said we got a lot to get into tonight. There's actually an update on the Carlos Correa situation. Yes, he is still a free agent. Remember when it was breaking news, he's signing with the Giants. Then it was breaking news, he's not signing with the Giants. Then it was breaking news, he's signing with the Mets. And then it's breaking news, he's not signing with the Mets. There's an update. We'll get to it next hour. Just want to say. I also got to follow up on this Dana White thing because a few more people have started to speak out. Of course, none of them with ESPN because ESPN has got no stones, as if you heard the show last night, you heard me say. ESPN got no stones. They're just going to placate him, and they're going to make pretend this isn't happening. And I almost fell out of my bed last night before I went to sleep. I was actually texting with our producer, engineer extraordinaire, John Belmer, who was like, hey, I want to text you at 1 o'clock in the morning, which is like, okay, I want to sleep a little, but hey, that's all right. It's okay, Belmer. I'm not gonna hold it against you, buddy. You texted me at 1 a.m. in the morning. Come on, Belmer. I mean, you're killing me, dude. 1 o'clock in the morning, getting texts from him. I'm joking, Belmer. You know I love you. On Monday, TMZ put out the video of Dana White slapping his wife. So everybody went to ESPN and said, what are you going to do about it? You know what ESPN said? Dana, UFC, you go call them. We just distribute UFC. Amazing. We'll come back with Kurt Hanlon. Pro basketball talk next. I'm only joking. I was wide awake, sitting up in bed. Just giving you shit. You can break my balls. Dude, here. Can I give you some advice? Short of swearing, say the first thing that comes to your mind. Honestly. Say the first thing that comes to your mind. I'm not going to be offended. I don't care. Pizza. Yes. Say the first thing that comes to your mind. And you'll never go wrong. As long as it isn't a swear word or an FCC violation, then that tells me more about how your mind works. Hold on, I got to grab a drink before I call Kurt Hanlon. Okay. Kurt Hanlon. Oh, jeez, Louise. Hanlon. Good to have you with us. Just talking first world problems with our guest tonight, Kurt Heelan, who joins us on the hotline to talk some NBA. Always love to do that with him. 20 minutes till the top of the hour. The cash-in rolls along on SportsMap Radio. Let's bring him in. Kurt Heelan, Pro Basketball Talk at NBCSports.com, joins us on the show tonight. We were talking about the fact that it's raining in Southern California, and it never rains in Southern California. And now we've been getting like a lot of rain. And Kurt was saying, what were you saying? One of your friends was complaining that his pool was overflowing?
Yeah, actually, that would be me.
It's you.
It is me. That is my. That is the big concern. It's weird because we're in a drought and it's snowing up in the mountains, and it's like everything we need, and we're all like, oh, man, this is a lot of rain. We're not used to this stuff. Yeah, it's real first world problems, and again, 90% of the country is just laughing at us. Like, really, your problem is like.
I want to get invited. I want to get invited to the first Kurt Heelan pool party of this year. I expect to get an invitation.
I don't know what we're going to do. I think the next big thing we're going to we throw. My wife and I, we had to miss it for a few years for there was a pandemic. I don't know if you caught on, but we've always thrown a Kentucky Derby party.
Interesting. Kentucky Derby party. That could be fun.
I one of these years, I'm actually going to buy or rent a seersucker suit for this thing. But anyway, yeah, we throw a Kentucky Derby party every year.
Okay, that sounds like it could be fun. I'm like Al. Remember, you're probably old enough. You're about my age to remember when they used to have those Stouffer's frozen food commercials, and Al from Happy Days used to be like he would always invite himself over to somebody's house. They'd be shopping for these Stouffer's things in the freezer, and the person would be like, "Hey, is this enough to feed a meal?" He's like, "Well, if not, I'll be there 6 o'clock." That's me. I'm the guy that invites himself. I am the guy that invites himself over to everybody's house because otherwise I don't get an invite.
Well, as long as you're bringing microwavable dinners, we're good.
I won't be the guy doing the cannonball in your pool. I could promise.
Yeah, it is, by the way, a full old school 70s. One of these days we will spend the money to upgrade it, but it was the pool was put in the 70s, so there's a grandfather diving board. It is 10 feet deep on one end. It is an old school 70s pool, man.
It's the one that you need extra insurance on because somebody can drown very easily, and you wouldn't find them until it thaws out.
Yeah, I believe when we were doing the home insurance, we kept taking photos that left the pool out because we were like, man, I do not want to deal with it, or the diving board out. The diving board out because we didn't want to deal with the insurance.
Kurt, as much as we've talked about Stephen Curry's injury and what it's meant to the Warriors, people seem to forget this team's missing a ton aside from Curry. I mean, Wiggins, Kuminga, J. Michael Green, James Wiseman. Yeah. I mean, there are huge pieces to this puzzle, important pieces to this puzzle that have been missing. So in addition to losing him, and it sounds like there's a chance they can get him back about a week from now, potentially when their next road trip starts or on that next road trip, the fact that they've been able to sort of just bob their heads, keep it above water this long, it could really pay dividends when we get, into the nitty-gritty of this season.
Yeah, I think that what's been concerning is all the injuries and all of this has not let them build good habits and build a foundation of getting used to each other because this is a different team. And I mean, yeah, I know every coach likes to say we're different every year. You can argue that their core seven are back, but it's still a little different when Andrew, look, they don't have Otto Porter. They don't have Gary Payton II. They don't have guys they actually leaned on in the playoffs to play minutes this time around. And they're leaning on Kuminga now, and they need some other guys to step up. And then Wiseman wasn't able to do it early. So I just think they need more time. That's more my concern. But they're the one team in the West that I kind of just still give a pass to. Like, they'll flip this way. I'm just not worried about the Warriors figuring out how to be good when it matters.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that. And the thing that I still can't, whether they've got their full complement of players or not, this home versus road dynamic, has anybody, and look, I'm sure you know a lot more about this than I do in terms of putting it in a historical context. I've never seen anything like this. Through halfway through an NBA season to have this sort of disparity between home and road. I mean, I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah, I haven't looked it up after the game last night, but when I was doing it Wednesday, when I was putting the power rankings together, there is like an 18-point swing in their net rating, home to road. And Kevin Pelton, I know at ESPN, wrote a whole thing about this being, he went back and dug out the history, and there was like one team in the 70s or something. I'm going to blow a blank now on who, that had this, I think it was Seattle, one of the Seattle teams, had this huge swing. But it's almost unprecedented how different they are home and road. And it's kind of strange. You know, it's like they lost last night at home, and you're like, well, that's 3 losses this year. But that's why getting Curry back on this road trip genuinely matters, because they can't keep losing like this on the road. The other concern here is just that in a wide open West, you can, on one hand, you're like, man, nobody's blowing me away. I'm not scared of anybody. The other hand is, if you can't get up into the top 4, then you're playing every series on the road. You're starting every series on the road, and you're just making the job harder.
But does home court really? But does home court really mean that much in the NBA?
I think it matters less in the playoffs a little bit, just because the travel part is less difficult. You don't have back-to-backs, and you don't have, look, Oklahoma, the Warriors would fly to Memphis. Pick your team. They fly to Memphis, then they stay there. Like, they're not bouncing around. So that part of it's not as bad. But I still think that teams get juiced, and role players are just more comfortable at home. I think that there is some value to being at home and being comfortable.
Are the Nets fixed?
Relatively? Yeah, no, I think they're really good. Are they? In fact, I would call them contenders, but I think push comes to shove, would you pick them over Boston or Milwaukee right now? And Milwaukee struggled lately, but I still think they'll figure it out.
Boston's kind of been rough over the last few weeks too. I gotta be honest. You give me that team. You give me that Nets team healthy with Durant and Kyrie. I'm gonna give them a shot against anybody.
I think they have a chance. I think that we'll see where I feel about it by the end of the season, because I just don't trust their defense against teams when they're fully loaded and ready for bear, like with a fully going at it Warriors. And I think the Bucks present a problem for everybody because of their length and physicality. But I don't know that the Nets can handle that over 7 games. But first round for sure. And then I think as long as they've got Kevin Durant, like you said, and Kyrie Irving, they've got a chance. If they can defend, if some of the role players, they can find some matchups that work for their role players, if Ben Simmons can fit in there, then I think they've got a chance. I think that they legitimately have a chance. I'm not sure I'd pick them to come out, but fixed in the sense of did we think we'd be here with them 4 weeks ago? There was hey, are they going to trade Kyrie mid-season? Is this thing going to blow up? Conversations. And now we're talking about them as can they come out of the East? It is a remarkable turnaround, and it's going to get Jacques Vaughn a lot of Coach of the Year votes.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. Is this a Jacques Vaughn thing, and is it an indictment on Steve Nash, or is it simply the fact that they've had their full component of players together?
Jacques Vaughn had that advantage of, hey, everybody's healthy. Kyrie's back. And this doesn't get mentioned enough. Kyrie's back in a contract year. Kyrie is back right now at a time when, look, it's Kyrie Irving, so whatever happens, but he's playing for his next contract. And I think the odds of him disappearing for 2 weeks go way down this year, because he's already going to be struggling to get the length of contract he wants. I don't know that anybody's giving him more than 2 years, but I think the odds of him doing something crazy are just less likely now. And Jacques Vaughn has just settled them. To his credit, there weren't a lot of great X's and O's changes. He didn't radically change everything they wanted to do. There were definitely tweaks, but it wasn't some radical overhaul of system. It was just, hey guys, let's settle this down. Let's be a little more professional. Let's just play basketball and talk about basketball and focus on basketball. And when they do that, remember a year ago, we were talking about how good this team could be.
Talking with Kurt Heelan, Pro Basketball Talk at NBCSports.com. Our guest on the Cash In, SportsMap Radio, and the SportsMap Radio app. The Knicks had a nice winning streak, lost a few in a row, and you started to go, oh, God, here we go again. Then they get back Jalen Brunson, and now they start to look like the Knicks that were running off some wins when Jalen Brunson was there. Are you surprised yourself, not just the fact of, sort of the calming influence he's been, but also the amount of scoring he's been able to do for this team?
The scoring, I think we kind of saw in bits in Dallas. They obviously, he was the secondary playmaker because their primary one is pretty good. But his just, I don't know that he's doing anything that he wasn't capable of doing. It's just compared to what the Knicks have seen the last 2 years, just having a competent point guard out there. It just changes everything, doesn't it? Like they just, hey, in fact, when they blew that lead, they blew the 9-point lead the other day, oh, hey, look, Brunson missed this game. Like, it's the kind of thing, they don't do that kind of stuff when he's out there. They don't lose it. And there's been other factors in their play. I mean, Julius Randle's had a really nice run, and their defense has come along. But at the end of the day, I think you've really got to give Brunson credit for just being a floor general. And I think you could see how much sometimes that matters. It mattered with the Pelicans, right? Hey, we got CJ McCollum in here. We're going to settle everything down, man. We're going to run this in. And he's a great locker room leader, but just having that on the floor that gets everybody pulling the rope in the same direction can just change a franchise.
Do you see the Knicks making a move? If they, like right now they're 6th in the East, all right? Yeah. So they're just inside the playoff, the playing game thing. They're just inside that at number 6. If they keep staying above that number, if they're between sort of 4 and 6, do you see them going out and try to make a move to upgrade to try and give themselves a shot against those good teams in the East come the postseason?
I don't think you're going to see that at the deadline, but I think that's only because hold on. That's only because there's not really anything out there. There's just not a lot of sellers right now. It's not a great market. So I think that's been the problem. There's just not these. I don't know who they would go get at the deadline that's available that dramatically changes their outcome. Right? This summer that could be different. Maybe DeMar DeRozan comes available. We can talk about the Karl Anthony Towns whispers if things keep coming apart in Minnesota. Yeah, all these other things. But I don't think any of that's available at the deadline. It's Vucevic and Bogdanovic and some guys who are nice role players, but not anybody you're going to go hugely all in on because they're not those kind of players. They're not the kind of game changer the Knicks need.
Well said. Kurt Heelan, Pro Basketball Talk at NBCSports.com. I'd ask you one more question, but I know it'll take me too long, and we'll wind up screwing this whole hour up. So thank you for coming on, as always, my friend. Have yourself a great rest of the week. We'll catch up next week.
I look forward to it. Take care, man.
Kurt Heelan, Pro Basketball Talk at NBCSports.com. Let's come back and wrap up the hour next. Hey, Kurt, you there? Nah, he's gone. Do. Got my dog staring at me because my husband decided to go out to Trader Joe's and Target. So the dog, just when that happens, my dog he gets real bad anxiety. So he's literally just staring at me right now like this. He's just looking at me. This dog. Yeah. Let me tell you something. First thing that happens if this thing that I'm talking with you about comes through, the first thing is we'll be moving into a studio. Yeah. Oh, you have no idea. I don't know. I mean, I've already got a space picked out. That's downtown in Palm Springs, right on the most busy street in Palm Springs. So I've got a spot picked out. A lot of it is ready-made, but there's going to need to be some work done, soundproofing, stuff like that, lighting. But I've got a pretty good idea of how I want to design the space. I've already been inside it and looked at it. I've already worked out the deal with the leasing agent and everything. I just need the money. No, but nobody's rushing to grab it either, So I know it'll be there. They'll call me. They said they'd call me if somebody came in and wanted to make a bid on it. But they know the situation I'm in right now. So I've got it picked out. The thing is, once I commit and say, all right, I'm going to lease this for 2 years, now I've got to stay in Palm Springs for 2 years. And I don't know, I'm not 100% certain. Boy, TNT's getting another thriller. How many of these games do I have to see in prime time? I know they're not all the time occurrences. But it's halftime in Denver, and it's 66-32 Denver on top of the Clippers. Oh, my God. It's just so bad. And there's live betting available on it right now. The Clippers are plus 4,000. And if you ready for this? You want to win $100 on the Nuggets? You got to bet $100,000. I swear to God. I'm not joking. There's actually a live betting line where you can bet the Nuggets minus 100,000. I don't think I got to take a picture of it. I don't think I've ever seen that in my life. I don't think I've ever seen a minus 100,000 in my life. That has to be a first. And there's no way anybody's going to do that. Minus 100,000 on the FanDuel Sportsbook right now to win $100 on the Nuggets. Mattress Mac can do it. He can afford it. In Houston, our buddy down there. By the way, does Fertitta still own the Rockets? Yeah. The same guy. Him and Dana White bought the professional slap league. Oh, my God. Dude, we got to talk about that in the next hour. Trust me, I've been keeping my powder dry in the first hour of the show. We'll talk about it a little bit in the next hour. But the Clippers, if you bet 100 on them and they come back somehow in Denver, plus 4,000. I feel bad for whoever's calling this game in Denver. I've got to go see who's doing that game. The guys at inside the NBA must just be like, can we go home? We got to break this down when it's over. It's so bad. It's just so, and feels like we see one of these every week in prime time in the NBA. Way to lay an egg, Los Angeles Clippers. That's how the first hour comes to a close. Thanks again to Kurt Heelan for joining us. Pro Basketball Talk at NBCSports.com, my buddy. Be going over to his house for a pool party this year. We're coming back with hour number 2. We're talking Dana White, a little baseball, a little football, a few other things. Stick around. Oh, awesome. Can't wait to hear it. Wow. So my good friend Paul, one of my best friends, he gave me one of I drink these coffee Cokes, the vanilla ones. Oh my God, I love them. But he gave me a mocha one, and I don't like the mocha. I don't like the mocha flavor. The vanilla is my favorite. Oh, here it is. It's the debut. Oh, is that what happened? Yeah, what's up? Oh, I accidentally called you. I'm dealing with a very, very fevered dog right now. He's not dealing with this well.
Okay, I went to Vaughn's and I'm now at Ralph's and they both don't have your coffee Coke, so I'm just going to come back unless you may get something else for you.
God damn it. Find coffee Coke. Right, Dookie? Tell him. Find coffee Coke. See this dog? This is what I've been dealing with.
So poor thing.
Yeah. The poor thing is me.
Okay, I'm coming back now.
Baseball cards. Buy some. Bye. Love you. The new studios will have a Dookie cam set up, and he will be at work with me every night. Yeah. There will be a Dookie cam in studio. Yes. He's not into it. I will say this, though, he has taken more of an interest because he knows it's what I do for a living all these years. And he pays attention enough to know what's going on. And when it comes to like the issues related stuff, like this Dana White thing, those sorts of, the social justice stuff, like he gets it. And he's pretty cool with it. He's sort of my North Star, though, when it comes to, like, if I'm about to say something or go off on a tangent, he's usually the one that can pull me back off the ledge from doing something that's going to just destroy my career. Because he works in PR and marketing, so he knows, like, he knows the lines you just can't cross, 66-32 at the half. My God. Nobody in double figures for the Clippers at the half. And this is on a night where Jokic is 1 of 5 for 3 points. It's amazing. Second hour of a Thursday show. Good to have you with us. SportsMap Radio. SportsMap Radio app. You can watch us live on Twitch. Twitch.tv. Jason Page 77 if you want to see what I look like. Yeah, so much for theater of the mind. You know what I just noticed on today's show? On the video feed, it says that it's yesterday. Oh, come on, man. See? You see? This is what I was talking about during the break. That's very good. Well done. See? I'm a coach. We're gonna turn you into a legit sidekick. Just give it time. Before you know it, you'll be like those guys on Pat McAfee's show making like tons of money as a sidekick on the show and just saying ridiculously stupid stuff and getting paid for it. I'm asking myself that same question. What do you know? That's funny. In this hour, we'll give you an update on one of the biggest sort of baseball offseason mysteries that still hasn't been resolved. We'll get to that coming up. There is big news in the NFL tonight if you're just tuning in. And we talked about it at the top of the show, but you know what? You may not have been listening at the top of the show. Bills-Bengals will not resume. They will not play the Bills-Bengals game that was stopped at late in the first quarter on Monday night with the Bengals leading 7-3. Instead, the NFL will not play the game, and they're looking at several options to potentially, sort of figure out what is going on as it relates to the AFC playoff standings. And the league's rationale for not finishing the game is that they don't want to extend things and cause, pushing back the postseason by a week. So there's a bunch of different things being considered. We'll get to that coming up on the other side. Hey, I just saw breaking news. Vince McMahon is unretiring ahead of these WWE media talks. Man, you just can't kill him. He's like a wrestler. You just can't kill him. We're coming back. More to do. Stick around. Wow, Vince McMahon unretires. Turn to the company to fully capitalize on. Okay. Mm-hmm. No, that's all right. God, yeah. He's 77 years old, dude. Yeah. That's true. Yes, so he's asking me and saying, sure, so they have their media rights negotiations coming up with Fox and USA expiring at the end of 2023. Wow. It's interesting. All right, we'll get to men behaving badly later in this hour. The cash-in edition. It's not just Dana White, believe it or not, that we'll talk about. I was reading more on this WWE Vince McMahon story. So apparently he wants to get back into the game just to help them negotiate their new rights deal, their media rights deal. Because right now they're on Fox and USA. It expires the end of next year. So he wants to get back into the ring, so to speak, metaphorically, to try and help them negotiate that deal. But the board has so far said, we don't want you back. It's like he's part of the men behaving badly thing. But anyway, 1-800-224-2004 from anywhere in America, 800-224-2004. How should the NFL work out this whole situation as it pertains to playoff scenarios? It's a very interesting question that they've got to figure out in terms of how they decide where they're going to play these playoff games. And I don't know what you do if you're the league right now. There's a few different scenarios out there. They could have a neutral site AFC championship game that's being discussed, depending on who winds up in those games. I'm fascinated to see how the league does it. Again, I just think they have to take I think they're choosing from the best of a bunch of options. Nobody's going to be thrilled with what they do, but I think people will understand given the circumstances surrounding the entire situation. The good news today is Damar Hamlin is neurologically intact. That's the big news of the day. I should have led with that here in this segment. So I'll take a hit for that. But that's the great news today, is Damar Hamlin neurologically intact, and it sounds like he even has a chance for a full recovery. We don't know that for sure, but the doctor said the best case scenario is he comes out of this the man he went in at 8 p.m. Eastern on Monday night, or 9 p.m. Eastern on Monday night, whatever it was, when this whole thing occurred. All right, Dave is in Connecticut. You're on with Jason Page on the Cash In on SportsMap Radio. What's up, Dave? Just living the dream, my friend. How's life in Connecticut? Oh, God. Oh, wow. I didn't even think of the fantasy football aspect of it. Yeah. But wait a second, can't you? I mean, wouldn't most fantasy leagues, if you're talking about you and your friends in a fantasy league, wouldn't you just shift it to this week? Wouldn't you just play it this week instead? I mean, really? Why would you? I mean, obviously the week is tainted because of what took place. It's not like there isn't a whole nother full slate of football this week. Why couldn't you just play this week instead? I can literally see the light bulb going off in your head from 3,000 miles away. So anyway, what was going on with Stephen A? Tell me about Stephen A. Smith. I was like, did the phone go dead? Yeah, I try my best not to watch Stephen A. Smith or Skip Bayless because both of them make me want to punch my TV. And considering it's a brand new TV, I don't think my husband would be thrilled with that. No. Yeah. No, I know what you're saying. And look, I mean, I've seen everything from coin flips, and I appreciate the call, Dave. I've seen everything from coin flips to so there's a scenario out there where the Ravens wouldn't win the division even though they swept the Bengals, had a better division record. So to fix that problem, the proposal on the table is the NFL will flip a coin to see who hosts a Ravens-Bengals wild card game if the Ravens beat the Bengals on Sunday. And if the two teams are scheduled to play each other in the wild card round. The problem is there's so many scenarios that have to be hashed out on Saturday and Sunday. Hey, look, it's just going to be a mess. You just have to accept that the AFC playoff picture is going to be a mess. And you know what? You just deal with it. Everybody that is supposed to be in the playoffs is going to be in the playoffs. You're going to be dealt the hand you're dealt. It's not going to be fair for everybody. But this kid's alive, and everybody should just rejoice at that and be happy they're not this kid who's literally been fighting for his life for the last several days in a hospital in Cincinnati. You know, I can't be bothered. I hate to say it. I can't be bothered getting emotional about which team in the playoffs gets to play at home versus has to play on the road. I get that you play an entire 17-game season and that you play an entire schedule and you fight your tail off to get yourself into a position so you can get home field. I get all that. But when you equate it to the problems this kid is going through and what the Bills and Bengals had to endure, I was just watching Josh Allen basically break down crying today in a press conference at the Bills practice facility, just talking about this. Can you imagine those guys having to go out trying to play this weekend if he hadn't come out of this? If he had still been in a situation where it was touch and go, where he hadn't been able to communicate, where he hadn't been able to open his eyes, all of those things. I mean, could you imagine those guys trying to play under that condition this weekend? And you just hope, you really have to hope that this weekend they can go out there and their minds are sort of clear and their minds are freed. Because to play this game at the level these guys play it at, and, you know, every single play, there's risk. You know, if you make the wrong move or the wrong decision, if you're not clear-headed playing that game, as risky a game as it already is, it becomes that much scarier. And look, you know, New England and Buffalo is a big game for the Patriots, who are still mathematically alive to make the postseason. We know the Cincy-Baltimore game means something. There's a lot at stake for a lot of teams this week, and how this game plays out between New England and Buffalo impacts other teams and their scenarios for getting in. And again, relative to what all this means compared to what Damar Hamlin is going through, obviously it's peanuts. But you do have a lot of fan bases and a lot of people that are invested in what transpires this weekend. 1-800-224-2004, 800-224-2004 if you want to weigh in. On Twitter as well, at The Back Page. Again, on Twitter. at the back page. All right, an update on this ridiculous NBA game tonight. Wait until you hear the score of the Nuggets and Clippers. Who knows how bad it'll be by the time we come back. We may not be able to do any NBA live betting tonight. It's just as simple as that. I'll explain why coming up in a couple of minutes. And there's an update to one of the big baseball offseason mysteries. Yep, Carlos Correa. I'll tell you about it next on the Cash In at SportsMap Radio. The mocha? No bueno. I had one left. Remember Paul gave me one? Did he eat?
Yes, I fed him.
Okay. Jesus, I could hear his tail going 100 miles an hour. Score of this NBA game is ridiculous. 84-46. By 40 points. What would you say? No. What do you say? Not that. No need fish. Everybody go home. Do. 26 minutes after the hour, about halfway home on this Thursday edition of the Cash In, SportsMap Radio, the SportsMap Radio app. Hey, tomorrow is Friday. That means we'll have Paige's Picks. We are at the high water mark for the season. We are 34-31 for the year. That is 3 games over 500. We've been scuffling all year. Had a 4-0 week last week. This is just laughable. The Nuggets lead the Clippers 90-49 with 5:02 to go in the third quarter. Can I tell you what's crazy, even crazier yet? There is a live betting line on this game. Ready? Clippers plus 36.5. And I got to be honest, I would probably take it. Because I think in the fourth quarter, you're going to get a ton of garbage time. You know, the Nuggets are going to put most of their guys on the bench. And yeah, I know the Clippers will put a lot of their guys on the bench too. But chances are you'll get a lot of garbage buckets, and I can't see the Clippers losing by 40. They could. Well, there's nothing else I want to watch anyway. I'm not turning on hockey. No offense to our hockey listening audience, but all three of you, I'm not turning on hockey. Just not doing it. And it'll give me something to at least keep me interested in this game, right? Should we do it? Should we tell the world? I think we should do it. I think it's going to be fun. I think we'll wind up. I feel good about the Clippers' chances to cover. Let's do it. All right, let's do it. Plus, we're at 30. It's at 34.5. Let's do it. Plus 34.5. The Clippers. Now I will admit this is a degenerate bet. This right here. This is a degenerate bet. This is the bet you do when you just are desperate to bet on something. It's the last game of the night in the NBA. It's, 11:30 on the East Coast. You're just looking for something to get your action in on, and you don't want to bet like tennis in Australia and Adelaide, so you choose this. So we got the Clippers at 34.5, baby. Let's go. Let's go. And they're down. See, now they're only down 37. So see, we're right there. Clippers are going to cover this baby. I can feel it in my bones. So an interesting situation when it comes to this Carlos Correa thing. So you might recall, it feels like forever ago, like a month ago, he signed with he had come to terms on a deal with the Giants. Then the Giants looked at a physical and said, I don't think so. We don't want to do a deal. We want to restructure it. And Scott Boras said, go pound sand. We'll go sign with the Mets. But then the Mets saw the same thing that the Giants saw and said, you know what? We're not too crazy about giving you the deal we were originally talking about. Let's talk it over some. 12-year deal, $315 million. We're not so keen on it. So now John Heyman and Greg Joyce of the New York Post are reporting that Correa's agent, Scott Boras, has renewed contact with at least another interested team or two other than the Mets on Thursday, as talks ran into at least a hiccup or two. Oh, boy. So the Mets are trying to get a revised deal done for Correa. I cannot believe this thing has become this big an issue. I really can't. Where else could he go? I mean, I know the Dodgers are always a possibility because they have enough money to go, sign anybody. But where else is he going to go at this point? Now, for people that don't know, the Correa concerns are believed to pertain to his lower right leg. He suffered a significant injury to that limb. I think it was fibula when he was a minor league player in the Astros system. I'm surprised they didn't just put some illegal, like, Superman rod in there so that he could play, because that's what the Astros do, right? Oh, I'm taking shots. Cheap shots, but shots nonetheless. So Correa had that injury. He hasn't been placed on the injured list because of his right leg in the time since that injury. So again, I can't understand how this is just becoming an issue now. And why would you offer him why would both the Giants and the Mets make him offers knowing that he's had this injury? It's just, the whole thing is so strange. It just makes me wonder if there's something else. That there's it feels like there has to be more to it than this. Because you can't tell me there haven't been other players in similar situations that haven't gotten these monster deals. It just, like I said, none of it makes sense to me. The Athletics, go ahead. No, what were you going to say? You would think. The Athletics' Ken Rosenthal speculated on his podcast about how the Correa deal might be tweaked. The way to do it in a situation like this is to put something in the contract called an exclusion clause. And that basically says if a player spends X number of days on the injured list with this specific injury, the specific injury to that part of his leg, then you can void future years or you can lower the guarantee. There are all kinds of ways to do it, Rosenthal said. But Correa and Boris aren't going to do that. But here's the interesting thing. Nobody else has jumped in. Like, first it was the Giants, and then, Steve Cohen went nuts for the Mets and said, we're going to give you this. Now that the Mets have sort of balked, it doesn't look like other teams are lining up to get him, and you almost wonder if in the game of musical chairs, he might have to sign another one-year deal somewhere. And I don't know where, but, look, I'll tell you a team right now, if you're going to do a one-year deal with him, you give Anthony Volpe 1 full year at AAA if you're the Yankees and go sign Correa. Go give him 1 year, $30 million. I don't know. Would he do it? Would him and Boris do that? If nothing else is out there? Sure the hell beats Isaiah Kiner-Falefa. I mean, again, I think there are a number of teams that'll do a 1 year deal this year. But then if you're Correa and Boris, you're back in this same position next year. I mean, would he sit out? If he can't get the deal he wants, would he just sit out this year? I think it's fascinating. I really do. I tried getting Bob Nightingale on last night to talk about it, but he wasn't available. I got to get somebody on because I just, like I said, if the Mets, if nobody's going to give him what he wants, if he thinks he's worth this long-term deal, and Boris is, and look, Boris is very influential. And you wonder, is Boris in his ear saying, no, you wait it out, you'll get the deal you want? I wonder if teams might, and it's not collusion per se, but you just wonder if teams are all looking at each other going, well, they're not signing them. Why should we? I think it's a fascinating free agency sort of case study. So we'll see what happens. 1-800. Yeah, what were you going to say? Go ahead, Belmer. No, you've got iconic timing tonight. I don't think so. That's great. It's great, but he may. I'm just trying to think of other teams that are possibilities for him. 1-800-224-2004, 800-224-2004. And again, you want to tweet at the show, go ahead and do it at the back page. Again, on Twitter, at the back page. Men behaving badly. The cash-in edition. That's coming up in a couple of minutes. There are a few different stories that I want to get to. We'll do that coming up in just a few minutes. But I haven't seen anybody else brought up as a possible landing spot for Correa. Again, there is at least one other team that is being discussed. I mean, he could go back to Minnesota because the Twins still have an opening at shortstop. I mean, Kyle Farmer right now is the most likely starter. And the Giants president of baseball operations, Farhan Zaidi, told reporters last week it was unlikely the team would go back to Correa. Atlanta? I don't know. We'll come back. Men behaving badly on the cash-in. SportsMap Radio. It's all right. But that is the reason why if I had a regular guy doing this show Monday through Friday, what I would do is I'd have you do the same thing I do and have like a webcam in studio so you could see me and I could see you. You know what I mean? Yes. No, you're fine. Don't worry about it. is all good. Yeah, we were supposed to have I had the sound off for that segment. See? God damn it. Yep. And that's a long segment. This is why I need a team. Because I need somebody that's just worrying about that, not me. Sorry to our video viewers. I had the sound off. I'm an idiot. Soy un perdedor. Pitchy, pitchy, woo woo. Apologies to our video viewing audiences. I didn't have the audio up during the last segment. So I need more. I just need more manpower. And no, that is not code for anything. I like that, Balmer. Yeah, see? It's good. But the Dana White thing really bothers me. What really bothers me about it is the media is dropping the ball on it. You know, we could spend all day on CNN, literally 9 hours of a bunch of dopes in Congress standing up, literally saying the same thing for 9 straight hours. And you can't find a few minutes to talk about one of the most powerful men in sports slapping his wife, caught on camera, and nobody cares? I pitched this to various news networks. Nobody wants to talk about it. And it's remarkable to me. It blows my mind that the media is dropping the ball on this. And I'm talking the big national media. Like, I give kudos to Ariel Helwani, who's a friend. Because Ariel, who's obviously very tied into the UFC community, Ariel Helwani has been very outspoken about this. He put out a lengthy video about it today. I think it was like a 37-minute video about it. All right, our live betting game of the night is the Nuggets and the Clippers. We said take the Clippers plus 34.5. Hey, guess what, Belmer? 3:39 to go, fourth quarter, 118.80. It's only a 38-point game. We are still in it. The sweat is on. We'll tell you what happens after the top of the hour. It's the cash in on SportsMap Radio. 1 hour left. 118.80. Let's go, Clippers. Oh, no John Wall tonight. Was that you burping? The hell was that? I was like, is that in the promo? I hear you. I don't know. What is it? Tell me. Oh, okay. There you go. I think I'll look some up. That's one. Oh, it's 34. 118.84. Yeah, right there, baby. Hanging on for dear life here. We're down a half a point. Come on. I don't care if it doesn't do it for you, clown. Oh, back to 34. 146 to go. We are hanging on for dear life. Final hour of a Thursday/Friday edition of the show. Good to have you with us. Oh, we are enjoying the sweat. Nuggets lead the Clippers 120-86. Why does it matter? Because we told y'all. Clippers plus 34.5. Now they're down 35. Ugh. Oh, this is torture. This is absolute torture. Never have I been this interested in a 35-point game with a minute 23 to go in the fourth quarter. I'm literally sitting here like playing with my fingernails. Nuggets lead 122-86. So they're up by 36. The live line 34.5. When we told you to lock in the Clippers. So we'll see what happens here in the closing couple of minutes. Oh, God. Whew. Never been so enthralled with a game that means so little. Later in this hour, Kurt Heelan, Pro Basketball Talk at NBCSports.com, will swing by the show. He is our 2-for-1 tonight, talking some NBA with him and getting some thoughts on some things going on around the league. Curious to get his thoughts on the Nets, because to me, Brooklyn right now is one of those teams I wouldn't want to play them. If they're healthy, I wouldn't want to play them in the postseason. I think they're a very dangerous team right now, given the way that they're playing. By the way, one more story about men behaving badly, and this one's kind of different. And then I promise no more men behaving badly stories tonight. I'm just getting them all in tonight, because tomorrow we'll do a lot of NFL. It involves Greg Berhalter, the men's U.S. soccer coach. I'll tell you what's going on with that. It's a bizarre sort of story. It's like something out of a soap opera. That's coming up in a couple minutes. Nuggets lead the Clippers only by 33. We might win this bet after all. Stick around. We're back with more of the final hour of the cash-in on SportsMap Radio. Come on. Stay there. That's it. That's it. Come on. Run it out. Run it out. Run it out. Oh, yes, they took the shot clock violation. We win, baby. Yes. They dribbled it out. 122-91 the final. We are winners. We did like one of those stupid horns that they play at nightclubs. That oh, it's awesome. It's so awesome. We are junkies, but we are winners. What are you doing over there? Are you making them?
I'll make them, and then we can eat them for lunch tomorrow.
Got it. Are you hungry? Wow, Michael K. may retire at the end of this year from his radio show. Am I hungry? Yes, but should I eat? No.
We walked down to the street fair. And we saw Richard and Steven.
Oh, you saw Richard and Steven?
Yeah, they were there. They were walking the street fair and they said hi.
Aww. Yeah, Ron texted me and asked what we were up to, and then he decided to go home. So he was out walking around town. What?
These ribs are small. I can use a small Le Creuset. I don't even have to break out the big ones.
It's interesting. Stephen A. Smith is repped by UFC owner Endeavor, but he called on White to punish himself as he would a fighter under these circumstances. Yeah, but the problem is you can't hold yourself to the same standard as a fighter if you're Dana White. You should be punished more than that. Coming back from the break. Kill that. Rolling along in this final hour of a Thursday/Friday edition of the show. SportsMap Radio. SportsMap Radio app. If you're just tuning in, maybe you've been working all day, maybe you've been living in a cave, maybe you've been, spelunking in a cave. The Bills-Bengals game will not be resumed. NFL making that official today. I think that became clear as sort of the day went on that wasn't going to happen. And we got great news today on Damar Hamlin. He is slowly recovering. He has full neurological, he's fully intact was the term they used. Neurologically, that is some great news. So some great news on that front. There are a bunch of scenarios. I'm not going to go through them all again. But there's a ton of different scenarios being bandied about for what the NFL does. Whether it's a no contest, whether it's a tie, whether it's playing the AFC title game in a neutral site, if the game involves the Chiefs and one of the two teams that played on Monday night. There's just a lot of different possibilities sort of lingering out there. So we should know by the time we get on the air tomorrow night at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific, we should have some clarity on the NFL's plans, because teams playing on Saturday and Sunday have to know what they're playing for and understand what the scenarios are. And the scenarios do change, not necessarily in terms of teams like the Ravens making the playoffs, which they already have, or the Bengals or the Bills making the playoffs because they already have. But in terms of seeding, where they could wind up playing, all of that stuff is yet to be determined, because it's going to be based on some of the things that happen this weekend. Teams need to know what they're playing for. We should have clarity by the time we come on the air tomorrow night. So we'll full coverage of that. From the NFL to college football. Oh, by the way, we won our bet. We're winners. Can we sound the winner horn? We are winners. Yes. Yes. That's what I like. We are winners tonight. We told you to take the Clippers plus 34.5 when they were down by like 41. And tonight they only lost by 31. So we're winners. We're degenerates, but we are winners. We bounced back from our losses last night at the hands of Sadiq Bey and the Detroit Pistons. That wraps it up for our live NBA betting tonight. There are no games remaining. So, from pro football to the collegiate ranks, we have talked about this story involving Jim Harbaugh and David Tepper, the owner of the Carolina Panthers, that the two had reportedly had conversations with regard to, well, whatever, because right now the Carolina Panthers just have an interim head coach. It's Steve Wilkes, and there had been some thought maybe that Jim Harbaugh would get back into the NFL coaching ranks. Well, Harbaugh put out a statement on Thursday afternoon talking about his potential return to the NFL, suggesting he will remain for a 9th season at Michigan, where he's been since he left the 49ers. ESPN's David Newton reported on Tuesday about that Panthers meeting, or the conversation between David Tepper of the Panthers and Harbaugh about that head coaching position that the team will have at the end of the year. Newton reported the conversation was not characterized as an interview. So here's Harbaugh's statement Thursday, echoing what he said last month when asked about potentially leaving Michigan for the NFL. Quote, "As I stated in December, while no one knows what the future holds," again, that's his out. That's his way to get around this. If he decides to change his mind, he could say, well, I said nobody knows what the future holds. "I expect that I will be enthusiastically coaching Michigan in 2023, Harbaugh said in the statement. I've spoken with University President Santa Ono and Athletic Director Ward Manuel, by the way, was the athletic director at UConn, and appreciate their support of me and our program." He closed by quoting his former coach at Michigan, Bo Schembechler, by saying, "Those who will stay will be champions." That remains to be seen. So, and look, that the NFL jobs will be there next year if Harbaugh wants to go for him. I mean, this is going to be a 1 year. Every year, you're going to be hearing about this thing. Now, he could say all he wants that, he told the Detroit Free Press, he informed Ward Manuel that his NFL pursuit was a one-time thing. It would not be a recurring theme every year. If the right offer's there and the right team's there, Jim Harbaugh's going. You cannot trust Jim Harbaugh. You can't. I'm not saying he's, kind of guy that pushes old people down the stairs or, mistreats animals. But again, every time I think of Jim Harbaugh, the only thing I think of, and I keep seeing it in my head, is Alex Smith being stripped of his starting quarterback job due to injury and never being able to regain that job back and, going to play elsewhere and being successful, but still. I just, as a former quarterback in the league, for him to do that to Alex Smith when he got hurt in San Francisco, I can't ever trust anything that comes out of the guy's mouth. He's just got greasy snake oil salesman written all over him to me. So that's not what got me talking about Harbaugh today. I wanted to update the fact that, he gave this statement, but what could change his mind as to whether or not he stays in Michigan or not is this. Harbaugh and the Wolverines are being investigated by the NCAA for alleged violations during the COVID-19 recruiting dead period. So the violations include alleged impermissible contact with recruits during the NCAA-mandated dead periods, as well as the use of a defensive analyst for on-field coaching activities, which is a rules violation. Sources tell ESPN Harbaugh's cooperation with the NCAA enforcement staff during the investigation is also being examined. Meaning maybe he wasn't as forthright as he should be. Harbaugh could face penalties that include a multi-game suspension. So if he knows he's got a suspension potentially coming down the pike, does it change the way he views it? Because if he goes back to coaching the NFL, he'll probably never come back to college football. He'll never have to serve that suspension. But at the same time, who's Michigan playing early next year? I don't have their schedule in front of me because I know the schedules are made up pretty far in advance. I don't have the 2023 Michigan football schedule in front of me. If you're telling me he has to miss the first 3 games of next year, how much does it really matter? Let's see, 2023 Michigan football schedule, and it says, let's see here. They play East Carolina, UNLV, and Bowling Green in their first 3 games. What do you think, Belmer? You think they can get by without Jim Harbaugh in those 3 games? Just a hunch? My God, they can get by without him for the first 5 games. They play Rutgers, Nebraska. I mean, they don't play anybody. This is why Michigan goes undefeated during the regulars. They don't play anybody. Oh, play somebody, please. Yeah. Yes. There's no layups. Even the Houston Texans are not a layup. You gotta come to play. All right, fine. It's all right. We still love you, Lovey. So Michigan has not received a notice of allegations from the NCAA. Could be coming in the next few days or weeks. And if they get notice of allegations, it may change his mind. It may change his mindset. Or does he say, hey, if he does the right thing, he would say, I'm not going to bail just because I'm suspended for a few games or potentially suspended for a few games, and I'm going to ride it out to show I am a man of character. There's just so many jobs that could potentially be open for him in this offseason. I'm fascinated by this. My God, he played in Indianapolis. If they deem Jeff Saturday's not the right guy for the job, why not Jim Harbaugh for Indianapolis? But does he want to take over that spit show? I don't know. Denver with Russell Wilson. I don't think it's a slam dunk that Sean Payton comes back to coach next year. I mean, if you're Sean Payton and you're going to come out of your temporary exile, right? Death or exile. If you're coming out of your exile and you're Sean Payton, little Batman reference there. Are you coming back to coach Carolina? I mean, if you could be again, understanding that's a build. That's going to be a rebuild with a young quarterback next year, albeit a talented quarterback, a young quarterback next year. Best thing that could happen to the Panthers was not making the playoffs because it's going to give them a better draft pick. How much do you wait until maybe Seattle opens up? Because Pete Carroll's not going to coach forever. Do you wait till that job opens up and Pete leaves? You going to Denver and coaching a broken Russell Wilson? Is Sean Payton the kind of guy that looks at Russell Wilson and says, I can fix it? That's a bit of, that's the God complex that exists in a lot of coaches. There's always that coach who says, I can fix it. And that owner in Denver is not shy about throwing around money. So maybe, I know they're going to have to pay Nathaniel Hackett for the next few years to sit on his derriere, but do you go and throw the farm at Sean Payton to get him coach Denver and go fix that situation? I'm just trying to think of the possibilities that are out there for Sean Payton. There's not a mint job that's sitting out there in this offseason. There's no ready-made situation where you can go in sort of like John Gruden did when Tony Dungy left in Tampa Bay. And Gruden, Chucky won a Super Bowl basically with Tony Dungy's entire squad. Tony Dungy built it and then he won it. It was like Stan Van Gundy, building it in Miami and then Pat Riley coming in and winning the title. You know what I mean? I don't know if that situation exists, if that's what matters to Sean Payton, if winning is what he's coming back to do versus a rebuild. Tell me the ready-made situation he's going to be able to walk into next year. Washington, if they get rid of Ron Rivera, which is certainly a possibility. Where is it? 1-800-224-2004. Same thing for a guy like, now see if you're Jason Garrett, you're not viewed the way Sean Payton is, obviously. You might have to take that job in Carolina if they don't go with Steve Wilkes, which is what they should do. Or you might have to take the job in Washington. A lot of interest. It's going to be a lot of movement in this offseason. There's two things that I'm fascinated to see in this offseason. It's coaches and quarterbacks. And I think both of them are going to have some interesting moves, especially on the quarterback side. There'll be a lot of quarterback movement in this offseason, more than usual. A lot of teams with decisions to make at that position. 800-224-2004, 800-224-2004 from anywhere in America if you want to weigh in as we continue in this final hour of the Cash-In. It's SportsMap Radio. Why? Why would he take that job? Yeah, what are they putting around it? Yeah. Unless they also, the thing that could sweeten that sort of deal is give them control over player personnel. Yeah, so that's not happening. Yeah. Hey, the phone's ringing. Wake up, Cole. Okay. Why? I got a fun story here. All right, Kurt Heelan comes up in 12 minutes. Does a great job with pro basketball talk at NBCSports.com. Do some NBA talk with him. All right, two stories, one kind of serious and one that's kind of hilarious. So let me give you the serious one first, and then we'll do the kicker story on the back end. So I don't know how many people have heard about this wild story involving the coach of U.S. men's soccer, Greg Berhalter, who has spoken about this controversy involving his family for the first time. So the U.S. national team coached him in the World Cup, is currently out of contract, and there's discussions about whether or not he'll continue because of an incident this week, which was brought out, where he kicked the legs of his then-girlfriend, Rosalind, in 1991. Now, the two have been married very happily for a number of years, but how the story came out is what's kind of salacious in this. Not even necessarily the fact that he kicked the legs of his then-girlfriend, who he's now married to, back in 1991, which, by the way, is 31 years ago. Berhalter's revelation came in response to what he said was an individual who contacted U.S. Soccer. So somebody anonymously called U.S. Soccer with details of the incident in order to get him fired. But then it got crazier. The person who contacted USA Soccer to reveal that Berhalter had kicked his wife in 1991 was Danielle Reyna. Why does that name sound familiar? That's the wife of Berhalter's close friend, Claudio Reyna, mother to Gio Reyna and Rosalind Berhalter's former college teammate and roommate at the University of North Carolina. You get why this is so crazy. In a statement endorsed by her husband, Danielle Reyna said she told U.S. Soccer about the 91 incident as retaliation for Berhalter's treatment of her son, who played a limited role at the World Cup. So let's get this right. She went and tried to ruin this guy's career because her son didn't get enough playing time at the World Cup. Now, I want to know on what planet anybody would ever put Reyna on their team knowing this. Like, she might have just literally sunk her son's career. I don't care how good he is. You've got crazy soccer parent for an adult? I mean, we're talking about a professional soccer player, and his mom is getting the coach of the U.S. men's national team into hot water over an incident in 1991 where he kicked the legs of his wife in an incident 31 years ago? Are you kidding me? Let me tell you, if U.S. men's soccer gets rid of him over this story from 31 years ago, especially at the behest of a scorned parent because her son didn't get enough playing time. Oh, you know what? Just tear down the program. Just burn it to the ground because you're a joke. You really are. Your program's a joke if that's what you're operating under. Berhalter appeared at a Harvard Business Review event on Thursday, spoke out about the whole thing. He said, "Our entire family is saddened by these events. It's something we want to move forward from. As we said in the statement, it was something that we didn't hide from back then, and we weren't prepared to hide it from it now, and that's why we issued the statement. The events of that night 31 years ago and the lessons learned from that basically set the foundation for our relationship moving forward, and it's a loving relationship, a devoted relationship. We have 4 amazing kids to show for it. The worst part of it for me is my heart aches for my wife because it was her story to tell, if she chose to or not, and that's what really saddens me. But it's moving forward, and that's the way we have to look at it together as a family." Here's the crazy part. I don't know if it's crazy, but here's the interesting part. Berhalter will come out of this story better than Reyna. Think about it. He will come out of this story better than Reyna and Reyna's family for the way that he's handled this. Whether he gets another contract from the U.S. men's national team or not. All right. Move on from that story to the absurd. So I don't know how many people know the story of Keishan Butte and why he didn't play in the Citrus Bowl and why he decided to declare himself eligible for the NFL draft. There's apparently heavy rumors out there. Brian Kelly wasn't too surprised by the changes in plans for the 2023 season. Last month, Butte announced that he would be returning to LSU for the 2023 season. A few days ago, however, had a change of heart, declared for the draft. And a lot of people were like, well, I mean, right before the bowl? Well, apparently, there was a reason why he was listed as unavailable for the Citrus Bowl prior to declaring for the draft. Coach wouldn't comment on it. So some people did some digging around on the internet because once it's on the internet, it doesn't ever go away. And they found this crazy rumor that involved Keishan and others being at a sex party in Atlanta. Who amongst us hasn't, right? Belmer, sex party? Yes, no? Maybe so? See, that was your first thought, too. That's why I like it. The Old Road Texas A&M social media account posted a message on Instagram that there was a sex party during LSU's stay in Atlanta ahead of the SEC championship game against the Bulldogs. A sex party right before the Citrus Bowl. I guess that would qualify as being a bit distracted, unavailable. I will say I am 45 years old. I am proud to say I've never been to a sex party. And that ship has sailed. I mean, I'm 45. Thank you. Yes. Yeah, turn it up, baby. Yeah. Boom, 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 boom. Wow, wow, wow. Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. See, and the thing is, if you don't do that, here's what I'll say for that. If you're going to do that sort of thing, do it when you're young. Get that stuff out of your system when you're young. Because ain't nobody want to see you at a sex party when you're old and busted. Nobody wants to see it. Nobody wants to see you all saggy and rolling out at a sex party when you're, in your 40s or 50s. Well, maybe in your 40s. If you look like Brad Pitt, maybe. Some people look good in that at that age. It's not for me. Oh, it's the end of the segment. Darn. I was going to continue talking about sex parties. Well, let's talk some NBA. I don't know how we go from that to NBA. Maybe a lot of NBA players go to sex parties. Kurt Heelan, Pro Basketball Talk at NBCSports.com, joins us on the other side for our weekly NBA chat. Stick around for it next on the Cash In. It's SportsMap Radio. Do they? The sex party? Oh, it was like a group thing? Yeesh. Oh. Get your freak on. Get your freak on. Yeah. Yeah. All right. She called again, didn't she? Okay. Good to have you with us. Just talking first world problems with our guest tonight, Kurt Heelan, who joins us on the hotline to talk some NBA. Oh, so she wanted to talk to me off the air, maybe. With him. 20 minutes till the top of the hour. The Cash In rolls along on SportsMap Radio. Let's bring him in. Kurt Heelan. Good to have you with us. Just talking first world problems with our guest tonight, Kurt Heelan, who joins us on the hotline. Just talking first world problems with our guest tonight. Good to have you with us. Just talking first world problems with our guest tonight, Kurt Heelan, who joins us on the hotline to talk some NBA. Always love to do that with him. 20 minutes till the top of the hour. The cash-in rolls along on SportsMap Radio. Let's bring him in. Kurt Heelan, Pro Basketball Talk at NBCSports.com, joins us on the show tonight. We were talking about the fact that it's raining in Southern California, and it never rains in Southern California. And now we've been getting like a lot of rain. And Kurt was saying, what were you saying? One of your friends was complaining that his pool was overflowing?
Yeah, actually, that would be me.
It's you.
It is me. That is my. That is the big concern. It's weird because we're in a drought and it's snowing up in the mountains, and it's like everything we need, and we're all like, oh, man, this is a lot of rain. We're not used to this stuff. Yeah, it's real first world problems, and again, 90% of the country is just laughing at us. Like, really, your problem is like.
I want to get invited. I want to get invited to the first Kurt Heelan pool party of this year. I expect to get an invitation.
I don't know what we're going to do. I think the next big thing we're going to we throw. My wife and I, we had to miss it for a few years for there was a pandemic. I don't know if you caught on, but we've always thrown a Kentucky Derby party.
Oh, interesting. Kentucky Derby party. That could be fun.
I one of these years I'm actually going to buy or rent a seersucker suit for this thing. But anyway, yeah, we throw a Kentucky Derby party every year.
Okay, that sounds like it could be fun. I'm like Al. Remember, you're probably old enough. You're about my age to remember when they used to have those Stouffer's frozen food commercials, and Al from Happy Days used to be like he would always invite himself over to somebody's house. They'd be shopping for these Stouffer's things in the freezer, and the person would be like, "Hey, is this enough to feed a meal?" He's like, "Well, if not, I'll be there 6:00." That's me. I'm the guy that invites himself. I am the guy that invites himself over to everybody's house because otherwise I don't get an invite.
Well, as long as you're bringing microwavable dinners, we're good.
I won't be the guy doing the cannonball in your pool. I could promise.
Yeah, it is. By the way, a full old school 70s. One of these days we will spend the money to upgrade it, but it was. The pool was put in the 70s, so there is a grandfather diving board. It is 10 feet deep on one end. It is an old school 70s pool, man.
It's the one that you need extra insurance on because somebody can drown very easily, and you wouldn't find them until it thaws out.
Yeah, I believe when we were doing the home insurance, we kept taking photos that left the pool out because we were like, man, I do not want to deal with it, or the diving board out. Because we didn't want to deal with the insurance.
Kurt, as much as we've talked about Stephen Curry's injury and what it's meant to the Warriors, people seem to forget this team's missing a ton aside from Curry. I mean, Wiggins, Kuminga, J. Michael Green, James Wiseman. Yeah. I mean, there are huge pieces to this puzzle, important pieces to this puzzle that have been missing. So in addition to losing him, and it sounds like there's a chance they can get him back about a week from now, potentially when their next road trip starts or on that next road trip, the fact that they've been able to sort of just bob their heads, keep it above water this long, it could really pay dividends when we get, into the nitty-gritty of this season.
Yeah, I think that what's been concerning is all the injuries and all this has not let them build good habits and build a foundation of getting used to each other because this is a different team. And I mean, yeah, I know every coach likes to say we're different every year. You can argue that their core seven are back, but it's still a little different when Andrew, look, they don't have Otto Porter. They don't have Gary Payton II. They don't have guys they actually leaned on in the playoffs to play minutes this time around. And they're leaning on Kuminga now, and they need some other guys to step up. And then Wiseman wasn't able to do it early. So I just think they need more time. That's more my concern. But they're the one team in the West that I kind of just still give a pass to. Like, they'll flip this way. I'm just not worried about the Warriors figuring out how to be good when it matters.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that. And the thing that I still can't, whether they've got their full complement of players or not, this home versus road dynamic, has anybody, and look, I'm sure you know a lot more about this than I do in terms of putting it in a historical context. I've never seen anything like this. Through halfway through an NBA season to have this sort of disparity between home and road. I mean, I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah, I haven't looked it up after the game last night, but when I was doing it Wednesday, when I was putting the power rankings together, there is like an 18-point net in the swing in their net rating, home to road. And Kevin Pelton, I know at ESPN, wrote a whole thing about this being. He went back and dug out the history, and there was like one team in the 70s or something. I'm going to blow a blank now on who that had this. I think it was Seattle. One of the Seattle teams had this huge swing, but it's almost unprecedented how different they are home and road, and it's kind of strange. It's like they lost last night at home, and you're like, well, that's 3 losses this year. But that's why getting Curry back on this road trip genuinely matters, because they can't keep losing like this on the road. The other concern here is just that in a wide open West, you can, on one hand, you're like, man, nobody's blowing me away. I'm not scared of anybody. The other hand is, if you can't get up into the top 4, then you're playing every series on the road. You're starting every series on the road, and you're just making the job harder.
But does home court really? But does home court really mean that much in the NBA?
I think it matters less in the playoffs a little bit, just because the travel part is less difficult. You don't have back-to-backs, and you don't have, look, Oklahoma, the Warriors would fly to Memphis. Pick your team. They fly to Memphis, then they stay there. Like, they're not bouncing around. So that part of it's not as bad. But I still think that teams get juiced, and role players are just more comfortable at home. I think that there is some value to being at home and being comfortable.
Are the Nets fixed?
Relatively? Yeah, no, I think they're really good. Are they? In fact, I would call them contenders, but I think push comes to shove. Would you pick them over Boston or Milwaukee right now? And Milwaukee struggled lately, but I still think they'll figure it out.
Boston's kind of been rough over the last few weeks too. I gotta be honest. You give me that team. You give me that Nets team healthy with Durant and Kyrie. I'm gonna give them a shot against anybody.
I think they have a chance. I think that we'll see where I feel about it by the end of the season, because I just don't trust their defense against teams when they're fully loaded and ready for bear, like with a fully going at it Warriors. And I think the Bucks present a problem for everybody because of their length and physicality. But I don't know that the Nets can handle that over 7 games. But first round for sure. And then I think as long as they've got Kevin Durant, like you said, and Kyrie Irving, they've got a chance. If they can defend, if some of the role players, if they can find some matchups that work for their role players, if Ben Simmons can fit in there, then I think they've got a chance. I think that they legitimately have a chance. I'm not sure I'd pick them to come out, but fixed in the sense of did we think we'd be here with them 4 weeks ago? Like, there was like, hey, are they going to trade Kyrie mid-season? Is this thing going to blow up? Like, conversations. And now we're talking about them as like, can they come out of the East? It is a remarkable turnaround, and it's going to get Jacques Vaughn a lot of Coach of the Year votes.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. Is this a Jacques Vaughn thing, and is it an indictment on Steve Nash, or is it simply the fact that they've had their full component of players together?
Jacques Vaughn had that advantage of, hey, everybody's healthy. Kyrie's back. And this doesn't get mentioned enough. Kyrie's back in a contract year. Kyrie is back right now at a time when, look, it's Kyrie Irving, so whatever happens, but he's playing for his next contract. And I think the odds of him disappearing for 2 weeks go way down this year, because he's already going to be struggling to get the length of contract he wants. I don't know that anybody's giving him more than 2 years, but I think the odds of him doing something crazy are just less likely now. And Jacques Vaughn has just settled them. To his credit, there weren't a lot of great X's and O's changes. He didn't radically change everything they wanted to do. There were definitely tweaks, but it wasn't some radical overhaul of system. It was just, hey guys, let's settle this down. Let's be a little more professional. Let's just play basketball and talk about basketball and focus on basketball. And when they do that, remember a year ago, we were talking about how good this team could be.
Talking with Kurt Heelan, Pro Basketball Talk at NBCSports.com. Our guest on the Cash In, SportsMap Radio, and the SportsMap Radio app. The Knicks had a nice winning streak, lost a few in a row, and you started to go, oh, God, here we go again. Then they get back Jalen Brunson, and now they start to look like the Knicks that were running off some wins when Jalen Brunson was there. Are you surprised yourself, not just the fact of, sort of the calming influence he's been, but also the amount of scoring he's been able to do for this team?
The scoring, I think we kind of saw in bits in Dallas. They obviously, he was the secondary playmaker because their primary one is pretty good. But his just, I don't know that he's doing anything that he wasn't capable of doing. It's just compared to what the Knicks have seen the last 2 years, just having a competent point guard out there. It just changes everything, doesn't it? Like they just, hey, in fact, when they blew that lead, they blew the 9-point lead the other day, oh, hey, look, Brunson missed this game. Like, it's the kind of thing, they don't do that kind of stuff when he's out there. They don't lose it. And there's been other factors in their play. I mean, Julius Randle's had a really nice run, and their defense has come along. But at the end of the day, I think you've really got to give Brunson credit for just being a floor general. And I think you could see how much sometimes that matters. It mattered with the Pelicans, right? Hey, we got CJ McCollum in here. We're going to settle everything down, man. We're going to run this in. And he's a great locker room leader, but just having that on the floor that gets everybody pulling the rope in the same direction can just change a franchise.
Do you see the Knicks making a move? If they, right now they're 6th in the East, all right? Yeah. So they're just inside the playoff, the playing game thing. They're just inside that at number 6. If they keep staying above that number, if they're between sort of 4 and 6, do you see them going out and try to make a move to upgrade to try and give themselves a shot against those good teams in the East come the postseason?
I don't think you're going to see that at the deadline, but I think that's only because hold on. That's only because there's not really anything out there. There's just not a lot of sellers right now. It's not a great market. So I think that's been the problem. There's just not these. I don't know who they would go get at the deadline that's available that dramatically changes their outcome. Right? This summer that could be different. Maybe DeMar DeRozan comes available. We can talk about the Karl-Anthony Towns whispers if things keep coming apart in Minnesota. Yeah, all these other things. But I don't think any of that's available at the deadline. It's Vucevic and Bogdanovic and some guys who are nice role players, but not anybody you're going to go hugely all in on because they're not those kind of players. They're not the kind of game changer the Knicks need.
Well said. Kurt Heelan, Pro Basketball Talk at NBCSports.com. I'd ask you one more question, but I know it'll take me too long, and we'll wind up screwing this whole hour up. So thank you for coming on, as always, my friend. Have yourself a great rest of the week. We'll catch up next week.
I look forward to it. Take care, man.
Kurt Heelan, Pro Basketball Talk at NBCSports.com. Let's come back and wrap up the hour next. Surprises me anymore. Wow. Sure. No. Nope. Show name. Mm-hmm. Yep, tomorrow is Friday, and we will have full coverage of Week 18 in the NFL. See, it's weird, though. I can't even get... Well, I could do a fantasy guest for the daily fantasy stuff. Obviously not the season-long stuff. But maybe we'll get a fantasy guest on tomorrow. Talk a little bit about that. Maybe we'll get a sports betting guest, too. I don't know. We're going to have some fun, though. I'm still working on it. Before we go, got to tell you about my friends at playfortickets.com. Playfortickets.com. Playfor tickets.com. The Super Pick 7 contest is going on now. You've only got a few weeks left to get in because the big game in Glendale, Arizona is right around the corner. You know the one. It's super. Every Sunday of the NFL season, including the playoffs, gives you a chance to win, and it couldn't be easier. All you got to do is pick the correct side and totals on Sunday for 7 games. Simple as that. You do that. Correct side and totals on Sunday for 7 games. You get 2 tickets to the big game and $50,000 cash in your pocket. Think about that for a second. $50,000 cash alone would be cool, but you're also getting 2 tickets to go to the NFL's biggest game. Airfare and hotel are included. Go to playfortickets.com. It's free to sign up. It's free to join. It's free to make your picks. There is no downside. Playfortickets.com. Click on the Super Pick 7 contest and make your picks today. You still got, 36 hours or so to get those picks in before the games get underway this weekend. And it's real easy. I've played with the site. It's quite easy to do. Playfortickets.com. 21 and over to play. Terms and conditions apply. Belmer, I'm done working with you for the week. Thank you, sir, for all your help. It's always fun. Justin will be working with us on the show tomorrow, which will be a Friday edition of the show. Paige's Picks. Went 4-0 last week. We'll try to finish strong for the season. Hopefully we'll have an update on the NFL situation in terms of how they plan to handle the no contest or tie between the Bengals and the Bills. Whatever you're doing, enjoy it. I'm Jason Page. We'll catch you back here on Friday for the Cash In on SportsMap Radio. Have a great night. Bye! Yeah. I didn't get to hear the second promo. What was it? Oh, I thought you put it on already. Okay. Okay. No worries. Shoot them to me when you're done. Have a great night. I will talk to you later. Have a great night. Hit me up with anything. All right. Bye. Wraps it up on the video side as well. All right, I'm done. Everybody have a great night. Catch you back here on Friday. Be safe, and I'll see y'all later. I know there's some areas of the country that are having some gnarly weather right now, so if you're listening or watching us in those areas, please be careful, be safe, and all that good stuff. Anyways, have a great night. See y'all later. Bye.